Hi, and welcome to our brand new podcast, Ramp Real Access Motivates Progress. Tonight we are talking disabilities and stereotypes, and we have a phenomenal guest with us tonight, Keith Jones. Welcome, Keith. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, Tina. Thank you for having me. What's going on, Ramp? My name is Keith
Uh,
Jones. Yeah, I'm the disability rights advocate. I am also the president and CEO of Soul Touch and Experiences, which is an organization that's situated at the intersection of policy, race, disability, and economic development.
oh, that sounds
So that's
exciting. How long have you been? How long has that been around?
forever. No, it's, we're just now celebrating 20 years. Actually came about because I worked in nonprofits, and then I was like, "This is crazy," and I did what most Americans who chase their dreams do: strike out on my own. So, it really came from doing what we're talking about. It's just trying to improve access, give people, you know, being able to go to the bar, go to the store, go to the club,
Right.
go, on a plane to go have vacation. So that's
Yeah. Do the everyday things that everybody else does that think that we as disabled don't want to.
exactamundo,
Yeah.
and
Um.
that's so that's
So
what's up.
so where do you live?
Right now, I'm hunkered down in Jersey because the
Yeah.
pandemic basically took everybody out, and in order to keep everybody who I'm related to safe, because we're in the high risk
Right.
category, I'm kind of like hunkered down in one particular spot.
Mm,
I'm also in Boston, so I go back and forth. I try not to do it as much,
And
just
how do you
because.
find the accessibility between New Jersey and Boston?
So actually, New Jersey and Boston has a real interesting connection for me. I moved to Boston in '81 as a 12-year-old from St.
Okay.
Louis. So I finished junior high and high school, and before the '88, and the only and one of the most accessible, if not the only accessible college that was um, around was in Jersey. Was my alma
Right.
mater was, and so Jersey and Boston have unique accessibility histories that they had architectural and barrier-free laws on the books already. So
Yeah.
it wasn't as bad as other places. It was not utopia, but it was not as
Right.
bad. Yeah, so the accessibility, I
Uh,
think
I haven't heard
Boston,
of a utopia for accessibility anywhere as of yet, but we're working on it.
we can dream. We can dream. We
Well, no,
can
I mean Rhode Island, like I said, Rhode Island has a ton of issues. You know what I mean? We're getting better. We're advocating
oh
more
yeah,
positively, and we're talking about it, but we still have a long way to go. So, but I still find that traveling is a huge issue because you don't know what's accessible and what's not, or what their laws and rules are. You know what I mean? It makes it difficult.
well, it does. Now there are some things that I think people should know. One is that when you are a transportation provider, you have to be regulated by the Department of Transportation. And if you are regulated by the Department of Transportation, there are accessibility guidelines on the books. So if you show up and they go, Tina, we didn't know you were coming, but you
Right.
got a fleet of 700 buses, bruh. Like that, like that's
Right.
like your excuse is so you didn't read the manual, right? So,
Right. No, I mean
I,
it's true. They can do better. Like I remember when we were going on a train in Boston, we had to call ahead because they have one accessible seat. Well, what if two or three of us in wheelchairs happen to want to hang out together and go out together? You got to call ahead and you got to have them take some extra seats out. And they're like, well, can't one sit here and one sit three cars down? Well, no. If I'm going out
no,
with my friends, I want to kind of be together. But these are things that people don't think about. They just assume that we go out with a whole group of able bodied people and we don't hang out together.
and that so and that's one of the reasons I do the work because I always chuckle. I'm like, so let me get this right. Let me get this right. So, like once I'm trying not to laugh at it because I'm with y'all. I get you, right? Like I'm there with you. But the moment I have a disability, I don't like going to the club and having a vodka and cranberry. Like I didn't know that was in the disability handbook. I didn't like once I get a disability, I like going to the strip club late. I didn't know that was in the disability handbook. Right? I can't go lay on the beach. Like none of that is in the disability handbook because there is no handbook. So the
Right,
assumption
right.
that you right that we don't hang with our friends, or even the fact that our quality of life is only associated if we hang out with people who don't present as disabled is, I mean, to me, now my friends and I have a really sick sense of humor. So
Right.
it
I'm right
might be
there with you.
dangerous to, right? So it might be a little dangerous to assume that, oh, Keith doesn't, Keith is only out because he's with so and so and they're hanging out. Like if we go out, like if I want to take you out on a date and we going into the restaurant. Oh my God, there are two of them. Do we put them at the table or do we? Well, what if there's a fire? Well, if there's a fire, we're all screwed. So it doesn't matter. Like if I'm in a wheelchair, now I'm getting out
Yeah.
faster than you, right? So
Yeah.
I just think, yeah. So I just so I get the I don't necessarily, I'm not aware so much about your quality of life, but it's a huge leap to go from, oh, I didn't understand, to, oh my God, you actually have a life? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Well, it
it's
was
a good
funny
one.
because I actually had a better life now that I'm in the wheelchair. I've done more things wheelchair bound because I have more to prove. I have gone surfing and rock climbing and hiking and I've done more things in my wheelchair just to prove that I could still be able bodied than I ever did when I was walking. I have nothing to lose now. I've already been through all of that. So
Right,
I just live life.
right,
But it
right.
was funny because we were having a meeting once, and I was having 7 people come in wheelchairs. So I just kind of like courtesy called the restaurant. They're like, 7 of you in wheelchairs? Like, I thought they were gonna have to close the place down because we were all coming. They didn't know what to do. And then when we were all done eating, they're like, "You were just a bunch of people that didn't need our chairs." I'm like, "What were you really
Duh.
expecting?"
Right, like,
Like,
and
right,
yeah, and that's, I think, one of the things that I balance my cynicism about humanity with my optimism. So
right,
but I'm also at that stage in my life where I'm no longer giving people the benefit of the doubt. So,
right,
and just because I can't, right?
right.
If I take it seriously and I really waddle in the actual facts of the existence, I it there's no room for play. There's no room for you to
Right.
say, "Oh, I understand," or "I was not prepared," or "I wasn't trained." I mean, I'm 50 and I heard it from teachers who went to school to get educated to teach me. But then because I have cerebral palsy, all of a sudden they lost the ability to teach, right? So if I go to a
Right.
restaurant, like chef, there's a world class chef. Oh my God, Tina came in a wheelchair. I can't cook no more. I don't buy that, right? Like so I don't buy the
Right.
whole. Oh, I
Right.
didn't know your humanity would make me so uncomfortable, so all of my intelligence slid out on the floor. I don't
Yeah.
really buy that scenario. So I kind of, and now again, so I'm gonna tell you a funny story because I tell you my friends are sick and twisted. So hey, we went to our Great Adventure, and we stood online, and we stood online. We chilling. I'm in the wheelchair. They so forward. We saying it, and the guy goes, there's an accessible entrance, and he points to the accessible entrance, and we go, really? And we get up, and they go, yeah, go on. I was the coolest crippled man on the planet for the next 50 years. We do not go to Six Flags without Keith because we want to get on all the rides first. So,
I Yeah.
and that's so
Yeah.
but my friends and like you say, people who don't really, unless you interact with it daily, I get it if you don't necessarily have a broad understanding, but we were all taught at a certain level to have empathy, and it's the most
Right.
basic tenet. It's the most basic tenet. Do unto others
Sure.
as you would have them do.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. I find a lot of people underestimate what I can and can't do. Like they'll have their stereotype in their head. Oh, she's paralyzed in the leg, so she can't do
And
this
she
or that.
can't
It
die.
may not, yeah, it may not look the same way as you thought it would, but I can still do so many things that you think I can't do. What is the biggest stereotype that you think people have about you that's so untrue?
That you can't be a parent,
Yeah,
that you can't have, that you can't have, that you can't have relationships, or that you can't have crazy relationships. Um, Parenting, because people with disabilities have been viewed as asexual and non-emotional, right? So we
right,
that's when they, oh my God, it's so amazing, Tina, that you are rock climbing. No, it's a rock and I climbed it, right? So that's what it,
right,
that's what rock climbing is, right? I just happen to use different mechanisms to do it. Some of the
right.
bigger things that people find, that I found people were shocked, was when I had my first son, who was, oh my God, I'm so old now. When I had him, they were like, they were like, you had a son? Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that means you had.
yeah,
Oh my God!
yeah.
You just kind of.
It's so true. Well, I mean, just picture a woman in a wheelchair pregnant. How people look at her, like,
Oh,
they don't know if it's part of the disability or is she really pregnant. That somebody actually sleep with her, and we have normal relationships. We have normal
yeah.
lives. We want to do the same thing. Nothing's changed for me other than the fact that I sit instead of stand. Everything else is pretty much the same.
And that, I think,
You know,
you have a perspective. Um, well, so I have disabilities since birth. So
right,
my context of life is, that's getting up and walking to the bathroom is just getting up and walking to the bathroom. Now somebody who doesn't have
right,
cerebral palsy, oh my God, are you okay? But I don't wait till them to get up and get out of bed and walk over to the bathroom like, oh my God, are you okay? Right? So
right,
so it's when I think about people saying, oh, I'm so impressed that you did this, you did this. What shocks me is that these are people who claim they have intelligence. It's like you
right,
literally are telling me that your intellect is
right.
trumped by a stereotype. So you're not even
Right.
taking me just as a human,
Yeah.
right?
Well, that's like you go out in public and people will tell me, "Oh, you're so inspirational." I said, "Why?" Because I have shoes on, my hair's brushed, and my clothes match. Because trust me, watch me at Walmart, and I guarantee I will not look like this. Or when you can't feel your feet, I 90% of the time do not have shoes on because if you can't feel your feet, you forget to put them on. So I have shoes like in every corner of my van because I'm forever going out without them. So
Well, I
yeah, so
understand.
I may look put together, but and remember my name, but 20 minutes from now, that may not be the case.
Oh my God, CP, and so you get it. And so, like when I was going to the
Yeah,
airport, so the running joke with the people in the airport is, since I use my feet, so my phone, so my phone is at my foot on the ground. I cannot tell you. Oh my God, do you know your phone's on the ground? And then they'll run over and snatch it up and put it on my lap. I'm like, thank you, but you just ruined my. Like I was in the middle of sending a really dirty text message, and now I gotta like delete it because you put the phone out of my reach. You put the phone out of my reach, right? So and then
yeah,
I put it back on the floor, and they go, oh, it's like so. And I get the whole conceptual notion that we understand that hands are for hand stuff, legs are for walking, whatever. But I like I said, I'm at the stage where I'm not giving people the pass no more. If you creative,
right,
if humans are creative, we are creative and ingenious or genius enough to come up with ways to do things. So
right,
if you don't have gas, you make a fire, you cook. If you don't have
right.
gas, you use electric, you cook. We come up with all these inventions. The question I asked somebody the other day, I said, "How brilliant are we that we got to the moon, but we can't stop being racist or ableist?
True.
Like we're
Yeah,
brilliant at doing these things, but we can't stop being sexist or ableist."
yeah. Well, it's so funny because right now I'm working on a Habitat for Humanity house that's fully wheelchair accessible for myself. And I'll show up and they're like, "Well, these are the tasks for the day. I don't think you can do anything." I'm like, "Why?" I said, "We become MacGyvers when we become disabled. I can wash a wall. Give me the Swifter mop. We'll put a rag on it. We'll wet it, and we can wash the walls as well as we can wash the floors. A sledgehammer is my new free therapy. I can knock
Yes.
anything down. I don't even need the sledgehammer. I just run it over with my wheelchair and it comes down." So we just
Right.
find creative ways to do things. I mean, I painted my whole kitchen with the ceiling and the walls and everything. People just they underestimate what we can actually do because they feel sorry for us. But don't feel sorry for
Right.
me. I'm living my best life.
Oh, and that, so like when we talking about how do we change people's attitude, so it's not like it's taught, right? Like,
Right,
so you learn that you're taught to believe that because a woman is a woman, that all of these stereotypes are attached to her solely based upon the
right,
gender. And thus, since you taught and you believe that, when a woman does counterintuitive, you go, oh my God, right? And as a father of three daughters, I don't ever want them to have to worry about the fact that whatever gender assignment they feel they have or they have is definitive of their skill set. Because
right,
if unless you're trying to move Mount Everest, then I can get it. But if you're using your intellect, your creativity, and your skills, your human condition shouldn't exclude you from being the next host of a podcast, the next
correct.
president of a giant, or even the most brilliant strategist to get somebody elected. Those are the things that
Yeah,
and when people say, "Well, you need to be a B," I am a B, but I'm going to challenge you to use what you say you have. And if you say you are
right,
more intelligent than what you present, then your intelligence should say to you that just because I have a emotional reaction to Keith's disability doesn't mean that
right,
intellectually I can't see the skill set that he's bringing to whatever
right.
task it is I'm asking him to do. That
Yeah.
requires you to be, and at you 6, I get you not being that alert about yourself. But at 55, I never knew that. But you run the Fortune 500 company, right?
Right.
Like those two things are just too disparate for me to
Well, I
reconcile in
also
my brain.
find like, especially like during like COVID and everything like that, like my friends will call or text me and they're like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm working." They're like, "It's a pandemic and you're disabled." Yeah. And I am on at least 5 or 6 Zoom calls a day. I'm working with the state. I'm working my organization. I'm in a pageant, so I have a whole sisterhood and commitments to do for that. Plus my dogs, clean my house. I'm building a Habitat for Humanity house. Like they're like, "But you're disabled." Yeah.
And,
And
and
like
that
I'm still
makes
busy. I'm still working.
that so see, and though and again, humans have walked this earth for, we'll give them 50,000 years, right? Well, let's just say, right? And again, you have these brilliant abstract artists. You come up with languages. You have fashion. You have music, and then your brain shuts down the moment somebody has a disability. I can't. But and then the funny part about it is your brain shuts down because I have a disability, but you're the one doing all the projection. How am
Right.
I the one in that situation, right? So I like to now again. There's six sense of humor. I,
Yeah.
we oh, does he want somebody to help him? And standing
Yeah.
in standing in the line at the airport, she's like, "Is anybody flying with him?" She looked over my head
Right.
and asked the lady behind me. She's like, "Are you flying with him?" She's like, "I don't know who the hell he is." I was like, "I don't know who the hell
Well,
you are."
it is so funny when I go out with my son and my husband, and they'll do that, and they'll ask him, and they'll both turn around and go, "You don't know what you just opened the door to.
No.
She's sitting right there. You better ask her because you just walked into something you so didn't want to just walk into."
So and it's so and depending on, and I think this is what people with disabilities, or I'm being very general when I say that. We don't want to be. I don't want to advocate every day. I don't want
Right.
to be your teacher every time I go into the store. I don't want to have to
Right.
expand your concept of humanity because I rolled out of bed and didn't take a shower and just came in to get a gallon of milk and a bag of Oreos. I don't want to have to
Right.
entertain your lack of exposure in your own human existence. That's my job in my life, is not to make you comfortable. And I think a lot
Right.
of people just we find ourselves, and this is the same thing with whether in the black community we call it code switching, or it's if I'm sitting there talking to my man, well, yo, what's the deal, dog, blah 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 blah. The moment Tina shows up and she's with her boss, yo, what's up? Hello, Tina, how are you? It's so
Yeah.
wonderful to see. That's
Yeah.
amazing. All right, you and Skip have a good day. Okay, right? Because
It's
and
so
it's not,
true. Yeah.
but it's
But
not because
I don't see able-bodied people walking up to other able-bodied people, as you per se, to ask them the question that they have the beans to ask us in public. Like, do you not know what HIPAA is? Like, I don't need my medical throughout the middle of Target. I came in to get a piece of clothing and I want to go home. Most
that's
of the
it.
time I don't mind, but there are days where I just don't want to be bothered. And if I say, I'm sorry, not today, or would you walk up to your able bodied friends and ask them that question? Like, we're not an open book just because we're
No.
disabled. Like I said,
Oh,
90% of the time, I wouldn't mind, but we have our days too.
and this has been the crusade of soul touching experiences and Crip Hop Nation and all the disability work and basically all the work that I do is that
Right,
at its core, public policy, right? So like we're in the political season without being partisan or whatever. But if you are running in any office, whether it's local, state, federal, anything, where you're running to be in a position of leadership for the public, because you're asking to be a leader. Then
right,
if you're asking for leadership, then the presumption is that you have the qualifications to lead, which means that you are
correct.
cognizant enough or empathetic enough that if I roll my black behind up in the wheelchair, you're not going to, oh my God, thank you for showing up. We're going to talk about that. I have some. No, brother. Like,
Yeah,
you want to be, you want to run X, but 1/5 of the population shows up, and then all of a sudden your intellect slides out your butt, and you're impressed because Keith got a cup of
right,
coffee. Oh my God,
right.
Tina, you were at Walmart and you did it by yourself.
Self.
My God,
I go
and you
everywhere
drive
by myself.
that.
Yeah. I want to run away too. I need to get away from my family and dogs and clear my head just as much as anybody else. I need my time, alone time, and my little bubble,
Right,
leave Tina alone time. And people
right.
just don't understand that. They think I open doors for able bodied people, and they're like, oh, no, no, no. I can
And
open a
I get
door.
that.
I'm absolutely okay with it. Take it when you have it, you know? And I want more people to just treat us like everybody else, you know? How do you think that accessible voting is going to pan on the policy for this election?
So, full disclosure, I'm a I am a voting rights geek. Just so and in the early work we did, voting access has been like one of my driving issues. Um, for historical reasons, because of the melanin content that I have, and just because when we were in school, see, I grew up on Schoolhouse Rock.
Right,
Yes, I'm a bell. Yes, I'm only a bell, and all of that good stuff. And and even I remember my grandmother, and my grandfather telling me stories. My great grandmothers and grandfathers telling me stories about sharecropping and being on the plantation, and then having to migrate from Mississippi Delta up to Missouri into St. Louis, and then still having to fight to get the ability to vote, just to vote, not even
right,
access to the vote, just to not die going on the way to exercise your right in the democracy. So
Right.
I find it interesting that there's more emphasis on not making voting accessible than it is to make it, because we're 1/5 of the population, right?
Right.
So there are about, if there are 20 if there are 23 million families in the United States with people with disabilities. There's 65 million of us in the country. 43 million of us are above the age of to vote, but only 4% of us have access to an accessible voting place.
Right.
So what's going to happen is that there's a significant portion of the electorate that's going to be left out. That's not going to have their chance to do what is constitutionally guaranteed, which is participate in their own governance. I think that, yes, I'm glad that you are amazed that Tina and Keithman had a cup of coffee together and the restaurant didn't burn down because two wheelchairs were sitting at a
Right.
table. But again, if you choose to be a lead, if anybody 25 and under, I can make a pass. I can understand you not necessarily having a global sense about things. But if you're running an
Right.
election and you know the poll places are in old schools, and the deliberate voter in the American election is a senior citizen who may or may not
Right.
need accessibility, that kind of says maybe you shouldn't have it in places where they can get it. So, and so it's one of those things like, I think where we are, is people have to start demanding that people actually do the job and
Right.
not just do lip service to the job. So if you're the governor, you can't have statements like, yes, we're going to do things, and then on the back end of it, be writing legislation that allows congregate nursing homes to allow people with disabilities or seniors to die without liability. Those kind of things. So those two things I think that's why it's important for voting access to be completely accessible, completely
Right.
open, I mean,
See, yeah, I think Rhode Island has done a good job so far because we have done a full overhaul. We have some tweaks and we have some place to
yeah,
go, but I think as far as Rhode Island and voting, we have made it a lot more accessible until this whole
yeah,
COVID thing. You know what I
oh
mean?
yeah,
Because we are more at risk, but doesn't mean we want to have our rights taken away from us. If you can make an able-bodied person vote and you can stand in line and you can protest in the thousands, you can make a voting machine accessible for me so I can go and vote.
Tina, say it again for the people in the back and the people on the side. Say it again. Say it again. I
Right.
can hear you in the back because again, this is why I'm positive. I feel, as crazy as it is, I've never been more hopeful. Now,
Right.
am I cynic? Yeah. I mean, I have a little bit of skepticism. I'm black in America, so if I don't walk around
Right.
with a little bit of skepticism, I'm clearly looking through rose-colored glasses.
Well,
But
I
I
mean,
believe,
look at it this way. You're black in America and you're disabled in America. Two of the biggest minorities in this country because the black history going through slavery and everything that they went through, but look what they did to the disabled community. They put us in the hospitals and locked us away. Still to this
yeah.
day they do that to so many of us. They lock us
Oh
away
yeah.
in hospitals so that we're not going to be seen. So as much as the blacks have gone through it, so have the disabled people. That we
And
need
that,
to
yeah.
get past it and work together to make it right for everybody. Because to me,
Hold
the minute you
say that
say
again for
black,
the back.
white, disabled, race, what religion, or whatever, you are automatically opening up the door for racism. We are human, we are part of the human race. Anything else does not matter. It doesn't matter. We all deserve the same rights. We all deserve equal rights. Nothing else matters. We are one human race. Leave it at that.
Do you know, this is why I find it so odd that humans, Like, and at one point I started thinking, I was like, well, maybe I'm a fish because humans are dumb, and not because they're dumb, just because of whatever. It's like you're so smart, you use enough of your intelligence to figure out how to segregate me. You are so
Right.
brilliant in education that you designed a completely separate but equal education system. You're so brilliant that you wrote housing policy that limited my ability. Like, that's what you use your intelligence for. So, you know what I
Right.
mean? And when somebody said black, so, and it's not just about being black and disabled in America or being First Nation and being disabled in America. It's about people have chosen, and when we were talking about this, they were saying structural racism. I said racism doesn't. I mean, there's no physical building that says racism. Racism is an
Right.
agreed upon set of outcomes that people are comfortable with. So,
Right.
how do you stop systemic racism? Well, people are making a cost benefit analysis on a daily basis. Do I stand up and say, stop treating people who look like me differently than you treat somebody who looks like you, and treat them equally?
Right.
When in the back of my head, if I say this might cost me my job. Those people are making those decisions moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. And in this scenario where people are having all these disparate marches, the one call that I've been asking for is that if you're doing social justice, right? And so my
Right.
tagline is, we are not a fully realized movement until we're a fully inclusive movement. So
Right.
if you're disabled and LGBTQIA, you shouldn't have to have your own separate gay pride march, right? If
Right.
I'm black and disabled and trans, I should not have my black and disabled trans life matter march, because
Right.
I need to say that because my black life is not specific enough. So now you got to get more specific because you were ignoring that part. And so
Right.
when I step back and I look, I say, okay, that this is why I'm hopeful. This is why I'm hopeful, because at a certain point, it's all, if you really are about justice and human compassion and the human condition living out its life. Like when people say, people ask, well, is having water a right? The only reason we're even having that discussion is because humans decided that that's an issue.
Right.
Like, you decided to make water access an issue, not because the people who need the water said, "Hey, we're sick of having access to water. Let's make it an issue." It's because somebody decided there was a cost benefit to that. There's a benefit to
Right.
not doing full inclusive education. It's not beneficial to the kids. It's not beneficial to their peers. It's not beneficial to the parents. But it's beneficial to somebody, because you would
Right.
continue to do it. What's the definition of insanity? Using the euphemistic thing, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. So
Right.
if a principal says, Tina, I would love to have you in my school, but I don't know if I can get a ramp. Bruh,
Right.
like, but you're teaching kids. This is the, like, we teach kids to problem
Right.
solve all day. So you can't
Right.
tell me you don't try to figure out how to get a ramp up the steps to the school. But you, the principal?
Oh,
Okay.
it's so true. Like the minorest things. Like I have seen. How many times have you gone out in public and seen that cute little wheelchair symbol that it's handicap accessible,
Oh.
and your wheelchair nowhere near fits in it? I'm like, they're like, it's accessible. The sign's on the door. I don't care where you paint the sign. If my wheelchair
It
don't
doesn't.
fit, it's not accessible.
It's not accessible. It's the
But
most
that's
mad.
the mentality of people that if you put like there's a place in Rhode Island that I can go to eat. If I go to sit, I can go in one part of the restaurant to eat. But to use the bathroom, I have to go into the bar section that there's a one step that I can't get in. But guess where the handicap accessible bathroom is? In the
In the bar.
bar, because they had more room in the bar area to make a bigger bathroom. Well, how does that
Absolutely.
even make sense? I can't get in the bar to use the bathroom. The part I can
Now,
get into, I can't use the bathroom.
now, see, Tina, you cannot use your intelligence. This is not using logic and common. Although I will say the phrase "common sense" is not common. common sense is not common anywhere. And they're like,
Right.
use your common sense. I'm like, bruh, if he uses common sense, we're all dead. So no,
But
don't use your
see,
common sense.
but
If you
sometimes being in a wheelchair actually works to our advantage because I
right,
remember going to a concert once and I rolled up to the Ticketmaster and the guy said to me, "Oh, I'm sorry, all of our seats rolled out." And I went, "Hey, I brought my own. I'm good," and rolled right in. Rolled right in. Nobody stopped me because no one had
yes,
any idea what to say to me. I have my own seat. Why should I pay for one of yours? Your seats are sold out. I have my own. I'm good.
like,
I can
I'm
sit where
good.
that guy's standing. I'm good right here. I'm good. No
Yeah,
one, they
because
never
y'all
threw me out.
SRO,
Yeah. So it's like sometimes we can
SRO,
use it
right?
to our advantage. It works.
Oh,
When
listen,
everybody's waiting in a long line and they're tired and they're complaining that their back hurt and their feet hurt, I'm sitting
I'm
in a nice
telling
comfy chair. I'm good. I can wait all day. I'm good. Go ahead. You want to go ahead of me? Okay. I'm good.
you. I,
You know?
it's so, and that's and I think people like when I do this like when I do it I tell people I say it's a simple human concept. It's but for
Right.
the grace of God, right? They look at us or they look or if they have the ability to conceptualize what we're going through, they go, God, I don't know if I can, because it's pity for me, quote unquote, but it's really like they
Right.
can't conceptualize that they would have the strength to do this every day, right?
Yeah.
Like they're looking, they go,
Oh,
I
it's
don't
so
know what
true.
I don't know if I would have the ability to get up every day and get in the wheelchair and go down the street, da, 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 da. And and I tell people I'm like it's no different from any like how did like so when you woke up today, nobody else wakes up in your body but you. So you know
Right.
what to do. You know what works, what doesn't work. And now the older we get, the more we wake up and go, "Oh, I didn't know what the hell that
Yeah.
was." Right? But but my me having to use my feet and sticking my face in the plate to eat
Yeah.
is not a cause for somebody to go, "You poor man." If you
Yeah.
understood how
Well,
much
yeah.
food I bite, you'd call me
Yeah.
greedy.
Well,
But okay.
if you listen to other people, we should be wishing that we were dead every day because I don't know how you do it, and I do it like anybody else. I have a will to live. I have two children. I have two beautiful grandsons.
Right.
I have a life that I want to live that is such a great life. Like I don't wake up every day wishing I was dead. You know what I mean? Like you seem to think, and if somebody else was disabled and this happened to them, they have a will to live too. You make it work. You take your circumstances, you face it head on, and you
And you
make
do.
it work. I
You
mean, I
make and
overcame cancer 4 times. I could have crawled in a ball and cried about it, but who was going to care? Nobody. I have to,
oh,
whose life was going to be shortened? Mine, not anybody
yes.
else's. So if I didn't get up and face it and did what I had to do every day, it's my life I'm ruining, nobody
Right.
else's.
Right. Right. And that's the thing. Like
And that's what people need to understand. How do
it,
you handle if you catch somebody staring at you? I know they're waiting for us to do a trick, but I usually say to them,
I'm
"I'll
sorry.
do one if you do."
I'm so like I'm going through my rental Rolodex waiting to get to the rated PG answer that I can give. Um when people say so these kids, I say hi, say how you doing. And if
Right,
their parents okay, I say no, it's okay, they want to know. If you're a
right,
teenager, depending on I got kids. I know teenagers are weird or just whatever. But once you hit a certain point in your life, then all my home training goes out the window. I don't do it around my mama because I don't want her to have a different impression of me. But all of that goes out the window. Because again, it's not so much that you're staring. It's I'm moving through the airport, right?
right,
You going through the airport. If we just happen to look at each other because we're just, we just catch each other, that's one thing. But to actively engage in sizing me up in order to try to figure out how the hell he got to the airport, why is he at the airport, who's flying
right,
with it, and you can see that in the look. right? So it's
Oh
not
yeah.
necessarily. So when people stare, like so the tagline that I've been using with my kids is situational awareness. Like there are a billion responses to a billion things, but if you're aware of the situation, you'll know how to reply.
Right.
And it's not incumbent upon you. Like you'll extend respect, but in order to, so I teach my kids to walk out in the same way I try to carry myself. I'll greet you with respect. If you stare, I'll acknowledge you and say how you doing. But if it's not reciprocated, all bets is off.
Right.
All bets is off. Your humanity and your lack of respect does not trump my humanity.
Right.
That it don't go like that. And
We
so
are
when
not
people
less
stare,
than, and we don't deserve less respect because of our situation.
right, and so I walk in this that duality, and people always go, "Oh my God, Keith, is it racism or ableism?" I'm like, it's not. Like if you understood the context of racism, you understand that racism is a made up construct, just like
Right.
ableism. People got together and decided we don't like that, not because they
Right.
had evidence that in the human capacity that there are ingenious ways to deal with, whether you have Down syndrome or you have spina bifida, you have cerebral palsy, you had a
Right.
stroke, you had this, you had that. Those are events or those are circumstances. Those are not
Right.
indicative of how you're going to move through your life. Those are just
Right.
the cards you were dealt. Now, how you play them, and what's so sad about it is that the people who have the ability to elevate the discussion around humanity don't do it. So if
Right.
Keith Jones does what he's doing, oh, that's so nice, right?
Right.
Like I never, oh Keith, oh my God, it's so you're so talented. Like if
Right.
if if you didn't have such a low expectation of people with disabilities, do you think me going to get a box of Phillies and a bag of weed would be so motivational and inspirational? No, you would think
Right.
I'm a
No.
hothead, right? But
Right.
because I'm in the wheel, I'm like, God, does it help you?
Yeah.
Sure. But again, it's once but that's somebody projecting their concept of humanity
On
upon
you.
us
If you
versus
could
saying
change, yeah. Yeah. If you could change one thing or leave somebody with one notion to think about, what would you say? What would you want to change, or what would you want the able-bodied people to know?
that it's us. Like there's no distinction because now presuming what normality is a group agreeing upon what they like. So like
Right.
normal behavior was slave owning. They agreed on that. That was normal behavior. But that
Right.
subjugated an entire an entire continent and an entire people's humanity. But that was normal behavior. So
Correct.
what I want people to leave with is that the things about whether people not liking you because you're gay, people not liking you because you have a disability, people not liking you because you self-identify as trans or whatever, and all those things, or people don't like you because you have an accent. Those are all superficial, and that I'm hoping that not only us as a community of people with disabilities and our families, but as the country and the world, understand that we got one planet, only one. It's on fire. We
Right.
need all hands, feet, crutches, wheelchairs,
Right.
PCA. We need all of that on deck. And
Yep.
if we are to move into the 22nd century, you cannot look at me and say, "Well, Keith, you're not really good at your hands. So I don't know if you can work in the capitalistic structure of the way you
Right.
earn your keep is to sell somebody your goods and services or your labor, your physical manual
Right.
labor." So I hope go out and work for it, but I'm hoping that fathers who are sexist with daughters understand that that is the dumbest place to be. That
Right.
people who, because they have a perception of melanin content, understand that it's the dumbest place to be. People who look at
Right.
people with disabilities and don't like us and are ableist, I hope they wake up and realize that it's the dumbest place to be, because all of those things are subjective. All of
Right.
those things are so
I
I
mean,
hope people
bottom
just
line,
yeah.
yeah. Bottom line is we are all on this planet for a very short blink of an eye. We all want to
Right.
make the most of it. We all want to make the most connections that we want to make, and we all deserve to do that with our own lives. Don't stop anybody from living their life, no matter their ability or their quirk or whatever they need to do. Just let us be. Let everybody just live their own lives
Just
respectfully, peacefully, and in unity with everybody together. You don't have to go hold hands and go start singing kumbaya or something like that,
right.
but just respect everybody's personal place and personal way of doing things, and just
Right.
respect the human race.
I second, third, and 15th that, because the whole goal
Yeah.
that and just to put a bow on it, and, I got here at this age, um, with every socioeconomic determinative factor in this country pointed squarely at me not getting it. And there
Right.
are 65 million more that those arrows that are pointing at trying to prevent you from elevating or me from elevating, solely predicated upon the term or the word disability. That's fine. But they do understand that the definition changed, is that the disability doesn't reside within the human, it resides in the
Right.
environment. So, so your environment is completely accessible, or you disabled.
Right.
You're a wheelchair user at that point,
Yeah.
right? Because that's the form of locomotion to get around. That is not a
Yeah.
disability. That's just and
Our
and for me,
disability isn't the issue. Yeah, our disability isn't the issue.
right,
The inaccessibility of the planet is the
is
issue.
the issue. I
It's
legit,
the be all end all issue. But
and
I thank
yeah,
you so much. This conversation
thank you.
was so important, and I'm so glad that we got to have it, and I want to thank you for coming on with me, and I'm sure we'll be in touch doing so many more things.
Yeah,
um, but I also wanted to reach out to everybody and let you know. So thank you, Keith, for being on. But
thank
one
you.
last thing, I just want to put a plea out there for everybody to make sure that they get their red bag. It is a medical bag that holds all of your medical information, non-tech based, on you at all times. It's got a little clip. You can go to rampisinclusion.com and secure your bag today, because everybody in this world should be a red bag carrier. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And I am so excited. And thank you again, Keith, for being with us. And I hope everybody joins into our weekly podcast. We have a lot to say, and we need the people to listen.